Tribunal sacks Dino Melaye as Kogi West Senator. Non-Academic Staff Union and Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities threaten indefinite strike. In international news, French President Macron calls Amazon fire international crisis. Brazil President Bolsonaro tells rest of the world not to interfere. And in sport, Falcon star Chiagini dies at 36.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Jolting news out of Lokoja, Senator Dino Melaye of the People's Democratic Party representing Kogi West Senatorial District has been sacked by an election petition tribunal in Lokoja, the state capital. The three-man tribunal panel led by Justice A.O. Chijioke was unanimous in its judgment earlier today and has ordered fresh elections for the seat. Reacting to the judgments, Melaye said his legal team was studying the judgments and would appeal. He said he was confident of victory in the appeal court. Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, had declared Melaye winner of the February election. The All Progressives Congress Senator Smart Adeyemi was displeased with the results and challenged it. He cited irregularities, overvoting, and non-compliance with the Electoral Act. The federal government has vouched to deal with culprits of the $9 billion judgment slapped on the country by the United Kingdom last week. Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, promised in Abuja on Thursday that individuals and corporations responsible for the activities that led to the levy against Nigeria will be dealt with. Malawi said Nigeria will appeal the judgments of the UK court. He said what led to this ruling arose from a 20-year gas supply processing agreement into which a past administration had entered in 2010. He said the contracts with Process and Industrial Development Limited was never performed as agreed. Malami told his ministry staff the federal government would get tougher in its fight against corruption. It has been 3 years since the last polio case was reported in Nigeria, and that is a milestone that could lead the World Health Organization to declare Nigeria polio-free next year. Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, made this known at a briefing with journalists in Abuja on Wednesday. Shuaib says the NPHCDA was acknowledging a milestone for this great achievement, which kicks in the process of attaining a polio-free nation certification by the World Health Organization. Dr. Shuaib said this achievement means all efforts and strategies of the government worked to end the disease. World Health Organization officer in charge, Dr. Clement Peter, said as the last polio endemic country in Africa, Nigeria going 3 years without a new case was a step toward certifying Africa wild polio virus free by mid-2020. Another mega strike appears to loom in the country as the Non-Academic Staff Union and the Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities jointly announced they would embark on an indefinite strike if the Nigerian government fails to attend to their demands. This was announced by the National Vice President of SANU for the North, Solomon Alpha, during a news briefing in Abuja on Thursday. Workers had begun a 5-day warning strike on Monday. The unions are demanding the implementation of the renegotiated 2009 agreements. The Abuja to Kaduna rail line has become so popular that there is a steaming crowd every day clamoring to get seats on the coaches. There is a reason for that: fear of kidnapping and other criminal activities while traveling by road. The Senate has called on the Nigerian Railway Corporation to increase the frequency of trips while regulating prices to check abuse on the line. Kelechi Emekalam reports.
The waiting lounge is packed full. Passengers have had to come here at least 2 hours earlier and even more just to secure a spot for their trip. More and more people now find the railway service a preferred means of transportation.
When you are traveling by road, you'll be scared of accident, scared of kidnapping and the rest. But for this, it's very fast and it's very comfortable. You won't be scared of anything.
Commissioned in July of 2016, the Abuja rail service has benefited many here. An average 3,500 passengers use this service daily, and Nigerians are hoping for an increase in capacity and expansion. Currently, there are 2 trains that ply the Abuja-Kaduna route, each train originating from both locations. They have a total of 15 coaches and make 8 trips daily. But that is still not enough.
We underestimated the patronage that we are currently having on this corridor, because there is no day we don't carry to our full capacity for now. And people are yearning for more rolling stock so that we can serve them better.
The service has conveyed over 1.5 million passengers since operations commenced. However, the benefits of the rail transportation isn't just quantified in the revenue generated alone, but also in terms of the lives it has helped to develop. Over 800 direct employments and thousands more are indirect.
Coming of railway into Abuja has really opened up this city and connected it to Kaduna and other cities too. You can find out that with this project, there is a massive movement of passengers between the 2 cities. And this has also encouraged commerce and other businesses that are taking place.
The service is expected to have a boost by year end.
At the end of this year, there will be 10 more passenger locomotives and 60 coach will arrive to Nigeria. And until now the capacity, the monthly average capacity of the passenger flow is more than 100,000. When the new locomotive and coach arrive, the capacity will be double.
Nigeria's railway has been in existence for over 100 years, but the service went extinct following years of neglect and mismanagement. Now there's an entire concept of revitalizing it, a 25-year development plan. The Abuja-Kaduna Railway project is just one part of a massive ongoing plan for a countrywide expansion, one that's expected to cover over 3,000-kilometer track distance.
Coming up, African stories. More women in Republic of Congo seek jobs as public transport vehicle touts. And later, international news. French President Macron calls Amazon fire international crisis.
You are watching ANN.
Dear Mommy, you went out that night with the baby in your tummy, but you did not come back. The baby is very fine and she eats and sleeps a lot. Everyone says that you are in a better place, but I miss you so much. I keep asking them, where is the better place? But nobody answers me. Auntie Carrie just hugs me and says, go and play. Mommy, I miss you. Please, when are you coming home?
I still do miss you, Mom. And in honor of your memory, I'm a doctor today working with the MTN Foundation to save mothers and children every day.
Ending mother and child mortality in Nigeria is dear to us. We will keep strengthening this most important bond just for you.
Welcome back. This is NN News. In African stories, hospital sources in Algiers say at least 5 persons were killed in a stampede at a rap concert in the capital on Thursday night. Reuters news agency reports that a stampede happened in a stadium in the city at a concert of local star rap Abdurraouf Deraja, known as Sukin. The BBC also reports the medical sources told local news outlets that 21 persons were injured in the stampede and taken to hospital. The Western sanctions placed on Zimbabwe by Western nations in 2002 for election rigging and human rights abuses by former President Robert Mugabe and his allies is surely biting hard on the nation. And supporters of President Emerson Mnangagwa say it is time to lift the sanctions to help the country's ailing economy. But Zimbabwe's economists, activists and main opposition party disagree with that. They say the country is not yet ready for an end to the U.S. and European sanctions. They accuse the government of continued human rights violations. Zimbabwe has had virtually no avenue to international loans and foreign investments since the early 2000s. The effects are quite burdensome on the economy. Inflation in Zimbabwe recently climbed to more than 175%. When you hear the word Touts, different types of nefarious activities come to mind. But in this story, the actual meaning of the word applies to the Brazzaville women who do the job of touts in public transport vehicle services.
Brazzaville, capital of the Republic of Congo. Female touts call out to customers, load communal taxis, and warn of the vehicle's imminent departure. Having a female tout collecting fares has now become a common sight as more and more women venture into previously male-dominated careers.
It started a long time ago, and work is evolving well. Today, for example, it was one of my colleagues who was scheduled, but since she became ill, I was called in to replace her. Everyone must take charge of themselves. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I have to stay at home and expect everything from a man. Any work that a man does, a woman can do also.
Some people ridicule us, insult us, but others praise us. For my part, I feel proud to be in this business because I do not prostitute myself or steal. I prefer to fight, and I encourage other women to do the same.
Most of the female touts or reelers are mothers. They believe that prejudice should no longer be tolerated at a time when organizations are promoting gender equality in employment opportunities. However, some see the benefit of having women in the industry.
We were the ones who were loading first, but we saw that women load well. The way they load, attract people, talk, as this one does. Since they've been here, between women and men, we choose women.
It feels good to see such a brave woman. I congratulate her because not many do this. If all women could think of doing like her, that would be good.
So far, there are about 50 female touts in Congo, all working under the Trade Union Federation of Transporters of Congo. The organization is actively pushing for the empowerment effort.
If Liberian President George Weah had his way, legislative and executive branches of government will spend less time in office. He has proposed reducing term lengths for members of the executive and legislative branches of government. Under his plan, the president and representatives will serve 5 years instead of 6, while senators would sit for 7 years rather than 9. Presidential Press Secretary Smith Tobey says this idea would push officials to begin serving the people from the day they assume office, rather than putting off work until their terms end. This is not the first time the idea of shortening terms has come up. A constitutional review committee on the former president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, made similar recommendations several years ago. But after a nationwide consultation, the recommendations went nowhere. Among the ideas floated then was limiting the president to 2 4-year terms instead of 2 6-year terms currently allowed.
When we return, international news. French President Emmanuel Macron calls Amazon fire international crisis. And later, sport. Falcons former star Giorgini dies at 36.
You are watching ANN.
in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to foreign stories. French President Emmanuel Macron has described as an international crisis the record number of fires in the Amazon rainforest of Brazil. German Chancellor Angela Merkel agrees with the French leader, both asking the G7 to treat the fires as an emergency and put on this weekend's G7 summit agenda. Macron says the Amazon rainforest are the lungs which produce 20% of our planet's oxygen. Meanwhile, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has asked international powers on Thursday not to interfere. He claims farmers could be illegally setting the rainforest ablaze. Government figures show fires in the Amazon have surged 83% so far this year, compared with the same period a year earlier. Although fires are a regular and natural occurrence during the dry season this time of year, environmentalists blame farmers for the sharp increase in farmers whom they say set the forest alight to clear land for pasture. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered retaliation to a recent U.S. missile test. Putin gave the order when he chaired a meeting of members of the Security Council in Moscow. The U.S. Pentagon has confirmed the testing of a conventionally configured cruise missile that hit its target after more than 500 kilometers of flight. Pentagon says that was its first test since the demise of a landmark nuclear pact this month. Washington formally withdrew from the Cold War-era Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty earlier this month after accusing Moscow of violating it. And U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to ask a federal judge on Friday to block Doja Bank and Capital One Financial Corporation from handing over the Trump family and Trump Organization financial records to Democratic lawmakers. The case is before the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals and is one of several legal battles between the Democrats who took control of the U.S. House of Representatives in January and the Republican president who is seeking re-election next year. Deutsche Bank has long been a principal lender for Trump's real estate business. The subpoena on the bank issued by the House Financial Services Committee and Intelligence Committee seeks extensive records of accounts, transactions, and investments linked to Trump, his three oldest children, their immediate family members, and several Trump Organization entities, as well as records of ties they might have had to foreign entities. After nearly 3 months of unrest, Hong Kong demonstrations are showing no signs of slowing down. What began as opposition to a controversial extradition bill has morphed into a broader movement to defend Hong Kong's wider social and political freedoms. Although the government has withdrawn its proposed legislation, the deep hunger and cynicism continues. Now, some residents are calling for unity to resume order as recent violence has gravely affected the local economy.
Causeway Bay is a famous commercial district in Hong Kong and is seeing sluggish business. Some shops even have closed their doors, hoping to transfer their leases to others. Because the area is near the sites of protests, residents and tourists have shunned the area and has badly affected the businesses here.
Patrons became very few after June the 15th, and the sales volume dropped soon. It dropped 20% in June and slashed 35% in July.
Yang's restaurant has been open for less than a year. She invested 3 million Hong Kong dollars or 2.7 million yuan to cover all the expenses, including rent, renovation, and staff. But now she can't help but closing the restaurant. All the staff have become unemployed. The Hong Kong Catering Industry Association says that the losses of the total sector over the past 2 months have mounted to about 2 billion Hong Kong dollars.
We see no business on Saturdays and Sundays. The whole city is like a dead city. Residents don't want to be out on the streets. Many reservations were cancelled because of the inconvenience over the traffic jams brought by the protests.
Dining is not the only industry affected. trade and logistics have also taken a heavy blow. A company doing cross-border online business says the protests that have paralyzed the airport and congested traffic have brought uncertainties to goods transportation.
Goods previously transferred from Hong Kong to the mainland are no more passing Hong Kong now. They are now directly transported to the mainland for the custom clearance.
The
impacts will include increasing unemployment, less jobs, and finally, people's lives.
Political and trade personnel have called the situation an economic typhoon. Analysts say that 600,000 employees in the dining, retail, and hotel sectors could lose their jobs, making the restoration of social order vital.
Still ahead, sports. Falcon star dies at 36. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit. Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. Niger Super Falcons former player Ifeanyi Chiajini is dead. The Niger Football Federation reported Chiajini died on Wednesday following a brief illness. Chiajini captained the first set of the Under-19 national women's team to the first Under-19, now Under-20 FIFA Women's World Cup in 2002. Nigeria and Egypt have qualified for the final of the table tennis team event at the 12th African Games held in Morocco. They will both battle for gold medal in the African Games finals and will vie on Friday for the ticket to Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. Aruna Quadri, Segun Toriola, and Jide Omotayo will represent the male team, while six-time Olympia Funke Oshonaike, Cecilian Akpan, and Edem Ofiong are members of the women team. That is NN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great weekend.